west side of the bridge. I was proposing a sidewalk, use an existing easement on the east side of the bridge, and have the Public Safety Center push their fence back by 8 feet in order to make 10 feet of room. As an alternative proposal, they are looking into creating a ramp that heads up to the Sutro Street Bridge because they don't want homeless people near the Public Safety Center. I can only assume that that's what we're talking about when they say they don't want people hanging around the Public Safety Center as homeless people. I can't think of anyone else who they would be referring to. If it's going to be called a Public Safety Center, why wouldn't you want the homeless to be safe? Makes no sense. The bike path is 12 feet wide. I see trees in the way. That's probably a bad thing. It seems antithetical to me to chop down the very trees which you're trying to preserve in a protected greenbelt area, all for the sake of protecting a fence, which they already said they're probably going to have to move back anyway. Not only are they going to have to move back, but they're also thinking about making it taller. I'm starting to think that this isn't so much a public safety center as it is a police safety center. I understand that the police have been feeling very insecure since 2020 when they had protesters climbing up the front steps of the existing Reno Police Headquarters and tagging it and marking it and really not much doing anything else. They didn't break into it, so I guess they just don't like the public. You know, First Amendment speech rights, you know, the freedom to address grievances. So this is where we're at. I brought up to them, you might make it ADA compliant if you're heading to the bridge. But that's not what I was proposing. I was proposing that an ADA compliant sidewalk be made in order for people to safely access the public safety center, which they might need to get to. You know, it's a police headquarters. Sometimes you need to access the police headquarters to file a report, things like that. It would be better engineering. They said that they can't do it. It's Nevada Energy's electrical poles. And on top of that, they have, you know, these 2 poles are connected up and they got some equipment up there. Okay. They said that the guy wires are going to be a problem because apparently the guy wires would be in the way of the easement. So let's go examine this, and let's examine both sides of the bridge and see which one would be the better alternative. Oh, no, thank you. I'm used to it. How are you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. Got lots to do.
All right, so this is the west side of the bridge, which is handling southbound traffic at 30 miles an hour with 2 motor vehicle lanes and not enough room to create a sidewalk on this side of the bridge. You actually have to move to the opposite side of the bridge in order to cross this bridge going north. Facing south here, it looks like we have a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and so 63 inches, so essentially I'm just going to call it a 5-foot wide sidewalk. God, it's so loud and distracted and annoying here. Okay. I would imagine that this embankment would need to be walled off. They would have to create a retaining wall. They would have to remove this staircase. Oh man, I'm waiting for a quiet time so I can begin talking, but this is a very heavily traveled road. Everyone's trying to get to the hospital, which is, you know, understandable considering that there's a county hospital over here. This is where I was really trying to give people access to. Oh man, take a look at this guy. I've done this before. Hello! So this is the current ability for bicycles to travel on the Sutro Street Bridge. They have Charos. Okay, I'm going to stop here for a moment. Some idiot decided it was safe for cars and bikes to share road space on a 30-mile-an-hour strode. Cars and bicycles must not mix when you have this amount of speed and mass difference combined. You don't do it. You have to have a separated cycle track on this bridge if you are allowing bicycles to be on this bridge. Paint is not an infrastructure, people. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. So, 5-foot wide staircase. Let's see how long this staircase is, because I've said in the past that it's 30 feet long. Let's find out. Okay, so my measuring tape is 24 feet long. So I'm about maybe 5 feet away from the bottom of the staircase. I'm just eyeballing it, maybe 5 or 6 feet. So yeah, this staircase is around 30 feet long. All right. These pedestrian lamps, by the way, have not worked for a long time. So let's examine where we can have a bikeway off-ramp. I'm going to have to do some climbing. Let me lock my bike. You know, the Greenbelt project, as far as I could tell from the clippings that I was able to find, it was clearly labeled as a statewide project. It wasn't simply just Reno or Sparks or even the county. The entire state legislature got involved with this project. We seem to have forgotten the trouble that we went through to create. So height elevation here starts dropping down 12 feet wide here. We need to preserve this 12 feet for the people moving up and down this bikeway. At the point in which it starts dropping down, we have a curve. How wide would the off-ramp have to be? I would say at least 10 feet minimum. So that means you would have to alter this to get this ramp going. So you would have to move this curve over into the green space over here. Or, let me see, any alternatives? We have about 15 feet at the point where the curve begins. 15 feet. So, I'm considering the visibility. This is a curb, it's downhill. People are coming up here. I need to see people coming. If you tighten it, it gets iffy. So, because we need at least 10 feet for this ramp. So that means that we would have 5 feet left here. Unless the ramp were started a little bit further down over here, but then you would have more of a steep incline to get up to the top of that. What's the elevation difference? Man, I wish I had one of those surveyor devices. I don't know what they're called. Can't encroach on this. This is private property. Well, you could, but you'd be an asshole. There's no need to. So that means that in order to make this 20 feet at some point, you have to encroach 5 feet here into the green belt. And yeah, so it would have to be 10 feet because 5 feet each direction, north or east and west, and with the possibility of having pedestrians. I envisioned this area, once used to its full capacity, its full potential, to not be empty like this. I want to see bicycles using the freeway to get to and from work as an alternative. This is our main artery, so we need to think of this vision-wise in terms of how would this look if people actually used it, and I see quite a few people using it. How much is quite a few? I would like to see hundreds per day. That would be a good start. In the morning and the evening.
At this point, we enter a park with a wide two-way cycling track totally separated from traffic. You'll find cycling paths through parks in many cities, but this isn't just a recreational path. It is well connected and actually takes you to where you want to go. This is by design. In the Netherlands, the routes taken by cars and the routes taken by bicycles are purposefully made different, so there is as little interaction as possible.
It's like a freeway. So, okay. 12 feet approach, 15 feet where it moves off. There's no way I can see this happening without removing all of these trees. And I could tell that most of these trees are naturally occurring. When I found out that a lot of these trees that we see here were planted by John Champion, it changed my view of how I see this corridor. It was good morning. How are you? Good. I would love that. I would love to see more people having fun here, you know? All right. Let's look at this up close and personal. This is why trees aren't growing here, is because it's asphalt. Never knew that. Okay, this current asphalt landing here is 9 feet from the fence to where it currently ends. So if we're going to make it 10 feet, it would be right here. Let me make a marker. Okay, so this piece of string right here, that marks 10 feet. So that means that the retaining wall, which I would imagine would have to be at least, what? I don't know structural engineering well enough, but I would at least have to say, what, a foot? You have to put rebar, you have to put the posts in there, build up a concrete retaining wall. So right here is 10 feet. So from here down to here and continuing straight until there's a junction. That means you would have to either make the slope steep, so there's a dip and then goes back up for the ramp. Not good. You increase the decline of this slope to make it steeper. Otherwise, you have to encroach into the green belt. Now, here's another question to ask. How many people do I anticipate using these off-ramps? We got a county hospital, residential, all the way out to Broadhead, and then south of there, heavy residential, all the way down to Plum. I can see people using this off-ramp quite a bit if they're using bicycles as their primary mode of transportation. And then we have to take this stairway away. Or, alternatively, if you want to use your powers of condemnation and eminent domain, or if you can come to an agreement with the property owner here, you could, instead of making it land on the bridge where the traffic is, have it travel down this way and widen this out. The last thing I want to do is encroach on private property. But let's check out the width there, just for the hell of it. I really am a big believer in property rights. If I spent my hard-earned money something as valuable as housing, the last thing I would want is for some city bureaucrat to come around and say, yeah, we're going to take part of your land away because we think it's for the public good, when that landowner is going to point right across the street and say, how come you didn't build it across the street at your police station? Oh, well, we have a fence there, and we don't want homeless people here. Oh, so you're saying that you don't want homeless people there, but you want them over here next to our property. That's what you're saying, huh? You want more traffic here than you do over there. And yet you say this is for the public good. I don't think that would hold up in court. All right, I'm going to call it as 5 feet. Let's see if I'm right. 5 feet exactly. Let's see how much clearance between here and that tree is. I wasn't able to get my tape measure all the way out there, but I would say there's at least 12 to 14 feet between this corner here and that space there. Here, it gets tight. Oh, there's a dedication here. I'll have to read that in a moment. Unless their plan is to bring the ramp up here to the bridge and have it roll down here, they would have to go down here and around the side through private property. There's an access gate 5 feet wide. You'd have to make this 10 feet wide. You'd have to get rid of this tree. Don't want to do that. You'd have to encroach into the private property here with an easement. Okay. A 10 feet easement would reach the perimeter of that retaining wall there for this recreational area in private space. All of this decoration here would have to be removed. The lamppost is fine because it's on the wall of the bridge. Oh, wait a minute. No. Can't happen. The widest we'd be able to have anything here, yeah, 5 feet because of the post here. So you would have a 5 foot bottleneck right here. Can't do it. So in that case, what you would have to do, what are they planning on doing? Okay. In order to have 10 feet of space here, you would have to go all the way up to this fence. I'm guessing this fence is where the end of the property line is. I should correct that. This property line butts up all the way up against 8 more
It's
feet.
hard for me to even do what I'm doing because they got me right up against there. That's where the property line. I'm actually inside the property line by 3 feet.
This would have to be shared space, so you would have to remove this rail. What? The reason why there's so many garbage trucks coming through here is because that's a waste transfer facility. From here to here is 10 feet. From here to the end of that bridge is about 230 feet. Probably actually longer than that because it's on the outside of a radius. So probably about somewhere between 230 to 270 feet. I'd have to measure it in Google Maps. You would have to have a higher incline here. You would have to have a tight squeeze over there before the bikeway starts dropping down underneath the bridge. You would have to take trees out. You would have to build a retaining wall. You would have to remove this. Hi, how you doing?
Live video shoot.
It's not live. I'm recording. I'm trying to figure out the insanity of what the city is proposing. I was asking for a 10-foot wide sidewalk on this side of the bridge to head right down to the bikeway. They said they can't do it because they need their parking space. They said they can't do it because of those guy wires, which I'm going to go examine in just a moment. And they're saying they don't want homeless people hanging out in front of the public safety center.
I can understand that, but I don't see where they see a whole bunch of homeless people hanging out on the sidewalk.
That's a very good point. So there are a large amount of homeless encampment here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is down by the river. It's
Exactly.
not seen by the public.
The other thing I brought up to them is that 8-foot fence that they're building.
Right.
I can jump that fence from that corner where that stairway is.
Oh, easily. I can
So that-
jump that fence without even
Yes.
using that.
So now they're looking at having to make the fence higher to keep people from doing that after I pointed this out to them. And
What's the public safety centers really, like, what are they keeping out?
it's the police headquarters.
Oh, it's going to be the police headquarters.
But they're using a euphemism to make it sound more public friendly. So it's public safety center. I
So
said,
what are they doing with that place down here?
what place? Oh, they're going to turn that into the new fire headquarters. That was built in 1948. The building can only house up to 50 officers. They have 500. So they got 500 officers cramped into that little place. And the fire fire department doesn't even have a headquarters. They're getting to that point to where they need one, so they're going to make a new facility over there. So I said, okay, if this is a public safety facility, why wouldn't you want people, the public, to access that facility by using an existing right-of-way? And people need to get to the hospital and all of these residential areas down there. It's like it's a no-brainer. All I was asking for them to do.
Shut down this side of town because this is like the bad part of 4th Street. They don't want the homeless or the miscreants to have access to over here.
I have my new friend here. Okay, this gets even better. The city forgot that this is a park.
Right.
They literally forgot. This is called Quinsley Greenbelt Park. It's on the assessor maps. It has 50 years of history. I found newspaper clippings all the way back to the 1980s and 90s talking about Quinsley Greenbelt Park, and it's even on, it's in the Parks and Recreations list, but they don't have it on their website. They said, oh, there's no park here. The Parks and Rec doesn't have it on the list. I'm like,
well, then why are they paying somebody from Parks and, well, not from Parks and Rec, they're paying somebody to empty the trash and clean the bathroom, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah, and there's signage, there's lighting, there's park benches, there's picnic tables over here. It's a park. They said, well, John Champion is the park. I said, John Champion Park wasn't made until 1997 after John Champion died. Right. This was the original park, and it's still here. I mean, if you want to come back down with me, come back around and then go and see the other side of this, I could show you what it would look like. Are you interested?
I'm not doing anything.
Cool. Okay. We're going to have to take our bikes down this 30-foot staircase here. Let me mount my
motorized one?
No, it's just a really old-fashioned looking one.
Oh yeah,
It's
really
from
nice looking.
It's from the Netherlands.
Okay. Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I imported. This is my car. I use this to get everywhere.
Yeah, this is my car. I use it to get everywhere.
Okay. I mean, needless to say, this is not ADA compliant. Thank you. Yeah. All right. It's right over here. So let's see. Sorry. So how wide is that?
11 and a half. Yeah.
11 and a half? Okay. And now, so that's more than enough clearance. Now, Public Works is claiming that these guy wires here are a public safety hazard if they were to put an easement here.
That's an understatement. More of a safety hazard for these people in the parking lot, really. Yeah, I don't see many cars hitting those, and I'm sure they'll be thoroughly taped off and marked.
Yeah, that's what I pointed out to them, is the guy wires are actually mounted into the parking lot, not here. See, I think they stopped building the fence once I told them the situation. Anyway, chop this fence off a little. This wasn't here. None of this fence was here when I started asking for this.
There was a giant hedge. Yeah.
Yeah, they had already chopped the hedge down. They had already, they were getting ready to lay the fence, so they were marking off with chalk. And I looked at it, at the potential of this. I'm like, just have the sidewalk 10 feet wide, head down here. They said that would remove 41% of the parking lot space available in here. I said, 41? How many spaces are you going to have? They said, we're going to have 48 spaces. This would remove 20 spaces.
On that parking lot right there.
Yes. I said, this is 71,000 square feet. When this was the Reno Gazette-Journal, there was over 90 spaces here to park. What are you doing with your land to reduce it down to 48 in the first place? And how do you consider a 2.4% reduction significant enough to cut out 20 spaces? So I called bullshit on that as well. And I told them,
It seems like a huge misuse of money, that's for sure.
very, oh, hi.
That's a print.
Oh, okay. Hello, sir. They told me that allowing the public here would compromise the security of this perimeter. And I said, really? I said, why? They said, because they will be more likely to climb the fence. Oh man, I love Reno.
I mean, that's a pretty hefty fall, but if you were to climb it like that, I mean, you could use the fence itself to literally rappel yourself down. It wouldn't even matter. You're just stepping over the spikes at this point.
Yeah.
And they have a hand grip to do it.
I pointed out to them that I can literally reach over and touch the top of their fence. You don't think that people are going to climb over the fence from here? I said
and here's my point on this. It's a fucking police station, right?
You're right.
Who's gonna fucking climb the fence to get into a fucking police
And
station?
I pointed out to them, I said, if you're worried about homeless people hanging out, I said, I know of a police station that's conveniently close by that you can call.
Right? And ask these people to get the fuck out.
Exactly. And they wouldn't have to build this area out.
Trust me, I'm sure they would find a better place to hang out than right next to the fucking police station.
People that use bicycles as their primary transportation vehicle, I need to get to the police station from time to time. I take well, I call this the bike freeway, right?
Right, yeah.
From downtown to here, straight shot, get off the off ramp and head on down to the police station, or I could head on.
Isn't this part of that big bike trail or whatever that goes all the way?
Yeah, well, this was the original set. I looked up the history. When they told me this wasn't a park, I'm like, oh, no, there's something wrong here. So I looked up the history. In 1973, there were rumors starting about making a preserved greenbelt space to preserve the Truckee River. This did not happen naturally. A lot of these trees were actually planted by this guy named John Champion throughout his life. And so this was a statewide effort to create 150 feet of green space on both sides of the river, prevent it from being developed. So this land here was private. It belonged to them. This land was part of their land. These apartments right here. This was all.
Sold it all.
Yes. Well, when they made the bridge, they sold this portion off, and they kept this portion here for the Reno Gazette-Journal. Originally, this was an island.
So I wonder how much of that money they pocketed.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. The city developed the greenbelt to make it walkable.
But then they put those apartments there instead of having the greenbelt, because I know that's not 150 feet off the river.
That's true.
You know
that's
what I mean?
true.
So the city pocketed money off that. You know what I mean?
I would have to look at, because they did surveys, and a lot of that actually is erosion. I mean, this was 50 years ago. It could have eroded away.
You're definitely right. I could understand that.
It could be. I don't know. But I
right, buddy?
all right.
I'm gonna go feed my friend here. It's good
okay,
talking
man.
to you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. I hope you don't mind this being on YouTube. Is that cool?
No, I don't care.
Okay. All right.
If you need me to.
All right. Well.
There, so if you need me to.
The two guys I was speaking to just left, and I think you might have accidentally pocketed my tape measure. I was about to take measurements of how tall these guy wires are. Would it be a safety concern? According to the two people I just spoke to,
That's what I understand.
the guy wires are well out of my reach. I don't know of any human beings that would be able to reach these guy wires. So I think it's safe to say that these would not pose a public safety hazard if an easement was created along this area. See, I like to try to avoid coming up with bad ideas. I don't like coming up with unreasonable ideas. I think that a west side access way to this area is unreasonable. High amounts of cost, encroachment on the greenbelt, encroachment on private property, redesigning the side of a bridge, a bottleneck that's 5 feet wide unless you get onto the bridge, so that means it's a steeper elevation. What's the real reason why they don't want people where I'm standing right now? These are not the hazard, I was told. This was not the hazard at all. Let's see what these are made of. So these are protected. Fiber optic cable. Okay, so this is the most vulnerable thing here on this. Fiber optic cable, in case you're not aware, is not high voltage. It's a data cable that uses light to transmit data over synchronous or asynchronous connections. Don't quote me on the synchronous asynchronous thing. I was just trying to sound smart. Looks like no one's actually been around here for a while to fix up their equipment, so I guess there's not a lot of high traffic from NV Energy. You got 12 feet of room. If you remove that fence post and make the fence start at this fence post and bring the rest of this back by the 8 feet that I requested, you would have level, safe, public access to the park. It would be low cost. It would be on level ground. It would go to a safe space. It would be next to a public safety facility. The people I was just speaking to said that they want to separate this north side of town because this is the bad side of town. Is this gentrification? Is this class segregation through gentrification by making areas inaccessible by pedestrians? Because pedestrians are the people that are less likely to be rich, according to American models. Seems to me that it is very unreasonable to cause millions of dollars of trouble for the taxpayers for something that could be handled by a simple sidewalk. This area here could be leveled off for a ramp much more easily than on the west side. This actually embanks this way, which could be completely leveled off, and you would have a good 10 feet of room starting from here all the way down there. The work is already practically done for them to fix up this little area here. You don't have to make it look super pretty. Just level out the asphalt like the rest of this area. When you do your repaving this summer, fix up this area and make it more accessible. And get ready for the inevitable. This is the old fence that used to run along the entire perimeter of the Reno Gazette-Journal building. It's beautiful during the summer. All of these bushes along the side, which were torn out over there to make that new fence. It's beautiful, they bloom, and it creates a much more pleasant atmosphere for the public. The new fence, I don't know what kind of decorations that they're planning on having along the perimeter of this, but my question was, if this is a public safety center and it's a public facility, why aren't you making it more public friendly? Make it beautiful, make it something that the public can enjoy, rather than putting this big fence up, like if it's a fortress. If it's a public safety center and not a police safety center, why are you making it so hostile to the public? What are you afraid of? Who are you trying to keep out? You know, the thing that I love about Reno is that this community has always had such a nice, open, and friendly atmosphere to the public. It's not like other places where you feel like you are violating someone just by living. This area is a public park. This area is meant for public enjoyment. And yet we have a very hostile environment 12 feet away from a public space. Was this the correct location for a public safety center? Was it because of the size only? Cheap land? Were they taking the public's best interest in consideration when coming up with the design for the public safety center? Who is supposed to be safe? The public or the police? Both, obviously. But this tells me that they are seeing the public as something that's hostile. We have this old, aging park bench here. We have lighting here. And yet, if I sit here at this location, at the Public Safety Center, this is going to be my view. We need to stop building so many goddamn walls. We need to stop fencing off community. I understand that the police have to be safe in case if there's another uprising. I think that's the main reason why they're building this place the way they are, is they're expecting it and they're preparing for it. And this is not about public safety, not at all. I think that's clear at this point. They don't want the public around this area. They don't even want a sidewalk near the public safety center. They want to make it as difficult for people to reach this center as possible. What does that say about the philosophy in which we live? You know, John Champion made this river the way it is. This does not honor that. This used to be an island. It used to be public accessible. There used to be bridges, footbridges to this island. It was created for the people. And instead we have old, aging infrastructure. Someone built a fire here at one point. This upsets me because it's changing our culture. It's making things less friendly, which is the main reason why I love living here. I know that times are bad right now, but let's make them better, not worse. If you treat people like animals, they will act like animals. Police officers. So stupid. I want to make this location so pleasant and beautiful and inviting that you'll want to tear your fences down.
I'm sorry, but when you say that chaos is illegitimate, you're demonizing those people who are taking back what is theirs. I am sorry.
I'm not demonizing no one because this is a thing.
That's the thing, though.
No. We're not saying protest is wrong. We're saying that we're coming in a peaceful way.
I will stop. I apologize.
just want to make something very clear. The flag I have in my hands was taken during the Little Bighorn from the United States government. We since then learned that violence doesn't solve problems. Okay? So what the children are saying here is no violence. Peaceful walking only. Okay?
Most of these looters are from outside. We need to be aware that they are not here to put out a positive feedback. They only here to destroy and burn down everything. Duai chante shicha yuhahelo na dako hecha shicha yuhahelo wana nie yuhapelo atewa kantan katangashla oshimailo na omakiayo. Creator, Heavenly Father, I ask you to bless over all the people of the world. When you take that negative, it belongs to you, and you give all the people a good life. Creator, we pray like this, not just for ourselves, but for everybody all the way around the world. Today, Dakya Oyase.
We know there was a small subset, as the mayor referred to, of bad actors. And we know they do not represent anywhere near the majority of the group that was out here yesterday. And I'm going to tell you something, and I'm a little more blunt maybe than the mayor is. If you're a bad actor and you're from out of state and you came here yesterday to cause a problem, you are not welcome in the state of Nevada. You are not welcome in Reno. If you came to cause destruction, go home. Get out of our state, get out of our city, because you're not part of what Reno is about. You're not part of what the state of Nevada is about.
Wow. So who put all this together? Like,
I don't think
just
anybody
random?
did.
I live right here. I had the exact same idea. Of course, I came out a little bit too late.
We did too.
But
we got down here about an hour ago and so much was done.
amazing. Amazing. I'm about to have lunch, but thank you. Hi, what's your name?
Tim Carter.
Tim Carter. You're one of the owners of the building after it got purchased from the post office. You and your brothers, you've restored the building.
Yep.
You guys have been having a hell of a time trying to reopen after the shutdown.
Yeah, after COVID, then this just, for all of the businesses in the building, I feel very sorry for them.
What I'm wondering is what's going to happen tonight. Repeat performance, or?
I know that there was a group that tried to go through Midtown last night, and they were met with a little more resistance than they expected.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the Reno people are going to put up with this anymore.
It was beautiful. It played underneath.
I never got so many high fives
But there was
for playing the accordion before.
it was so weird though, because it was like sometimes you were like a ghost. You played the accordion through the events last night.
Yeah. I usually play on the Riverwalk, and I love playing it at absurd times. So I have a feeling they've already set that.
All cops going to take a team of 6, start heading towards Calneva.
Hey, Sergeant Tom, yeah, if we can get at least 6 more for east-west scrimmage line for the Calneva, they're starting to wrap out behind our guys.
Copy, stall cops en route with 6. Do you guys need grenadier stuff, or do you have a ample supply?
Grenadier, we got a couple that are open at 32 in the crowd, so it's starting to form.
Copy.
Ready, Motor 31?
Motor 31.
Directors, that's it from the FBI. The militias are forming up on the outskirts and plan to come in behind us at our various positions. No time frame.
Copy, motor. Militias on the outskirts planning to come behind you, unknown time.
Motor 31, Olga.
K21.
And Reno's anti-police.
Copy, anti-police militia.
Reno, Ida 335.
Ida 335.
Just for 43, he's a credible CI who's providing information that states that militias groups are going to try to snipe marked officers with AR-15s and AK-47s from behind buildings.
Copy, it's credible, and they're going to try to snipe with AR-15s and AK-47s from the building.
Traffic control to Sierra and First. We have cars coming down.